Hello friends, magazines to everyone. I'm Seema and I welcome you all on today's clarification session. During last session, we decided the topic of today, requirement prioritization, and we are discussing the same. So friends, while I'm presenting the requirement prioritization, you can ask your queries in the question box and I will take those questions as soon as I will finish the presentation. So let's begin with the agenda of the requirement prioritization. First, we will see what is requirement all about, what is the requirement prioritization process, and what are the factors which are considered during requirement prioritization and what tools and techniques we can use for the requirement prioritization. So let's define what is requirement. According to the PMBOK Guide 5th edition, requirement is a condition or capabilities that is required to be present in a product, service or result to satisfy a contract or other formally imposed specification. If you want to develop a product, this product needs to have some capabilities and these capabilities are communicated by requirements. If you want to improve your business processes, what all improvements you want in the business processes, this information is communicated by the requirements. The requirements are represented by many parameters. And so what requirements represent? It represents the features to be met by a product or service. It also addresses the need of business. For example, there is a business need to increase the sale by 40%. And for that, you are developing the business requirements. You may decide that we are going to capture the customer purchasing pattern. So this is the business requirement and it is a certain capability which business is looking in your product. So it represents the need of the business. This business requirement is further elaborated in the stakeholder requirements and that form takes the form of stakeholder requirements and it represents the need of stakeholders. You can define various algorithms to understand the customer purchasing patterns and these algorithms are the capabilities of that product at the stakeholder level and these capabilities are represented by the stakeholder requirements. So let's have a discussion about requirement prioritization process. So what is the requirement prioritization process? It is a process of assigning a precedence that orders or ranks one requirement over another. When you are having 10 requirements, which requirement you will implement first? For that, you consider various parameters and on those parameters, on the basis of those parameters, you rank one requirement against another and with requirements which get high ranking are implemented first. So this is the process of requirement prioritization. Why we do prioritization? When you have a approved project, if one level of requirement prioritization has already done at the business level, then why not to develop a project plan and implement all these requirements, because after all you are expected to deliver all those requirements which have been approved. But there is a rarely enough time and money to implement all the requirements. Also, when you receive a project, yes, it is true that some level of requirement prioritization has been done, but these are the big requirements. You elaborate them further and within that further elaboration, you need prioritization. You cannot deliver all the requirements within the available time frame. You have to consider the time and money which are the constraints in the project environment. So it is very important to do prioritization at different level. When you do prioritization, you need to get answers of what are the criterias, what are the weight you are going to consider to prioritize those requirements. Because It is not subjective evaluation. Yes, in some cases prioritization could be subjective, but there is always some criteria behind that. There is a criteria of risk, there could be criteria of value, and on the basis of your preferences, you give some weight to those criteria. When you are going to prioritize requirements, when you are using adaptive life cycle, when you are in agile environment, mainly you reprioritize requirement after every iteration. When you are using predictive life cycle, you do upfront requirement prioritization, and you may decide certain checkpoints where you check if the product is on track to deliver business benefits, and on the basis of that monitoring, you may reprioritize those requirements. To identify priority, you need to involve stakeholders. And who will be involved? It also influenced by the selected life cycle. When you are using agile, when you are using adaptive life cycle and you are using Scrum framework, it is known truth that product owner is responsible for the requirement prioritization. But in real scenario, it is a collaborative effort. You have to know the certain perspectives, different stakeholder perspectives, to understand the, the different criteria and to prioritize those requirements. So who will be involved? You may get some information from your matrix where you capture data related to who is responsible, who is accountable, who needs to be consulted, and who need to be informed. To identify priority, you may use some tools, you may organize workshop, you may conduct some surveys to engage the stakeholders and to get some insight about requirement priority. So requirement prioritization needs the answers of what are the criteria, on what basis you are going to prioritize, and criteria will help to know things about the implementation of those requirements. When you are going to do the prioritization, who will be involved and how you are going to do the prioritization, what tools and technique for the engaging stakeholders you are going to use. So requirement prioritization highly impacted by the life cycle. As I told you already that in general, when you are in adaptive environment, you reprioritize after every iteration and release. In predictive life cycle, you do upfront prioritization. Factors which plays an important role in prioritization: what is value to your business and what is the cost of delay? If you will not choose a particular requirement, or if you will not deliver on certain time, then what is the cost of delay? If the cost of producing a requirement is less and value is high, definitely we will select that feature or requirement. And how to identify the cost? The size involved in a particular requirement will give you a good indication about the cost. To what level efforts are needed to implement that requirement. It will give you an idea about the cost. And sometimes risk is considered anti-value. Means if there is uncertainty in implementing, producing those capabilities, that if you are selecting those requirements and to reduce the uncertainties, what will happen? You will get some predictability. You will get higher level of predictability early in the project. So stakeholders want to consider those requirements which are providing high value and which are taking big risks, because you need to reduce uncertainty early in the project. Learning is also important factor in requirement prioritization, because it is highly associated with risk. Means it's something, when we start a project, we take a lot of assumptions, and on the basis of lot of assumptions we select something, and when we implement those things, we get some learning, and on the basis of that learning, we move further. So learning is also an important factor where a lot of assumptions are there, and and those things needs to be certain early in the project. So on the basis of that information, you prioritize requirements. Regulatory requirements also plays important role in the prioritization, because these are the must-have requirements which needs to be taken care of, because it is influenced by your external factors which is related to the government regulations. So here I would like to describe, I would like to communicate that prioritization is dependent also on the type of requirement. You take different prioritization approach for business requirements, for stakeholder requirements, and for solution requirements. At business level, you prioritize your features at business level on the basis of what is the net present value, what is the internal rate of return, what is the payback period. On the basis of the preference of business stakeholders, you use these financial matrices or methods to prioritize your business requirements. Now you have selected business requirements. For example, your business requirements are to develop features to understand the customer purchasing pattern. Now for customer purchasing pattern, you have decided to develop some algorithms in your solution. Now at the stakeholder level, you may identify different algorithms, and on the basis of different criteria, you prioritize those stakeholder requirements. So ultimately, whatever the criteria you are using at this level, where you can use the stakeholder judgment, you may analyze different data. On the basis of that, you prioritize your stakeholder requirements. Ultimately, those requirements needs to be aligned with your business requirements. Let's take a simple example. If the business need is to increase the website visits, and for that some stakeholders are involved in the contact generation, some stakeholders are involved in direct sale. Now if the performance of contact generation people is just by the how many contacts they are generating, then they may select methods that will generate high number of contacts, irrespective of if there is a direct relationship relevance with the business need, where you need to increase your website visits, and using that website visit you need to increase your sale. So ultimately your business need is to increase the sale. But if the what method you are using which is not aligned with your business requirements, it is not a good requirement. It is not a good criteria to prioritize your stakeholder requirements. So yes, we are using different methods with different tools at different level of requirements, but ultimately all the levels are aligned with your business requirements. At solution level, you may use different criteria like value, cost, risk, learning, etc. Here you can see that for a particular stakeholder requirement, you may have different approaches. You may have different approaches to implement that particular stakeholder requirement. And here value may not be related to the money. You may use that, okay, this approach, this alternative has 2 point, this approach has 8 point. On the basis of the how efficiently this option will be aligned with your stakeholder requirement, and stakeholder requirement is aligned with your business requirements. So here you can see that you are using different tools at different type of requirements, and all these tools needs to be aligned ultimately with the business requirements. Why I am emphasizing this thing again and again? Because requirement prioritization looks simple, but it is difficult to master. At different level, Different stakeholder wants to prioritize based on their own perception, and you need to, as a business analyst, you need to work with them, you need to influence with them on the basis of facts and data, which will help them to align the ultimate business goal. Prioritization tools and technique. The simple tool that you can use, the requirement filters. For the prioritization, you may create different filters like scope, functionality, testability, priority. If I take the example of a scope filter in relationship to the PMI PBA learning system, what is a scope filter? If a particular lesson, if a particular question is not aligned within the boundary of the PMI PBA content outline, it is not in the scope. Content outline is the boundary which we can use as a filter. Okay, this particular thing is not within the scope and this particular thing is not in the scope. So it helps you the helps you in the prioritization. Functionality, you may create categories of functionality. Okay, in this solution I will have 4 functionality categories, and any requirement is not aligned with any of the functionality category, it is not required. Requirement, if it is testable, then it is good. If it is not testable, then it needs to be revised or discarded. Priority filter, maybe if a particular requirement is a need, or it is a wishful thinking, or a desire. At what level you can see that, okay, we have 10 requirements, and out of 10 requirements, 4 requirements are not actual needs. These are the desires of stakeholders. Now stakeholders may say, no, it is not desire, it is a need. Then you have to negotiate with the stakeholders that what is the criteria to that you are visualizing it is a need, it is not desire. And as a business analyst, you need to create an understanding of the desires and wishful thinking. It is very important for the business analyst. Kano model of customer satisfaction. Here we map the absent or presence of a feature with the customer satisfaction. What will be the customer satisfaction if the feature is absent, if feature is present, and if feature is fully implemented? If the feature is absent in your solution, for threshold requirements, for must-have requirements, customer will be highly dissatisfied. And for exciters, customer will not be satisfied. Customer is okay. If a feature which is exciter is not available because customer is not expecting. Here the requirement is absent and here is the requirement available. And you can see that when in case of must-have requirements, when you start to implement, when you start to implement or select those requirements in the solution, after a midpoint, customer satisfaction will not increase. It will be constant. Even you have implemented fully. So must-have requirements are critical, but because these requirements are expected implicitly, their absence create great dissatisfaction, but their presence will not create a great level of satisfaction. And exciters will create, even their partial implementation will create a good level of satisfaction. Legal requirement, as many as requirements you will implement, the customer satisfaction will increase linearly. So you have to make the trade-off. You have to make the understanding that what is the definition of must-have requirements and which requirements are not expected by the customer. And it is also important to know that requirements which are excited today, will be must-have requirements as the time passes. For example, if we talk about 5 years back scenario, Wi-Fi in a hotel room was exciter. Now, availability of Wi-Fi becomes the must-have requirements for at least 4-star hotels. So, as time passes, the exciters becomes linear and then become must-have requirements. So, it is important to know that at what environment which requirements are exciter, linear and must-have. Moscow. It is also important requirement prioritization tool where you have to categorize requirements in must have, should have, could have and won't have. Must have requirements are those which are important for launching, and without those requirements you cannot think about releasing anything to the customer. Should have features are important, but they are not critical to launch. Customer can live without those requirements. For example, if you are developing a job site, if you think about search feature is must have. Job site will not work without search feature. But when you decompose the search feature by keyword searching and by location searching, you may decide that keyword searching is a must have and location searching is a should have. Yes, it is important because different people have different relocation requirements, but they can live by the keyword searching. They can search the jobs and they can analyze by their own, okay, this job is related to this location, this job is related to this location. Important, but customer can find their own ways to know, to fulfill their needs, and customer can use the solution. Could have requirements. These are the luxury features and nice to have. And if you have the time and money, you can implement could have requirements. Won't have requirements. Features are really not required and they are not that much valued that you invest your money and time. So feature requested but explicitly excluded from the release. You have considered those features, but after working with the stakeholders, you decide that these features are not required for your solution. So MMF and desirability are highly related. Minimum marketable features and desirability. And for that, you need to visualize that what is the desirability of your stakeholders. For that, you can use the Moscow and Kano. In Moscow, must-have requirements serves the desirability, and in Kano, threshold requirements serves the desirability. Now, you can see that it is very easy to list all the requirements and collect the stakeholders and see that which requirements are must have, which requirements are should have, which requirements are could have. But it is not that easy. Stakeholders wants to put all the requirements in must have, or there could be some conflicts related to different category of stakeholders. Like I told you the example of the website visit example, where contact people are more giving value to the number of contacts, methods which can give them the high number of contacts. But ultimate and sale people are concerned with the actual sale. So there will be the high level of conflict. Requirement prioritization is very difficult, and you need softer skills, you need to have negotiation skills, and you need to have the expert of data analysis. Pareto principles also gives you the basis of requirement prioritization. What Pareto principle says that 20% of features gives 80% of value. Okay, now this is a well-known principle, and we know that it works. So if you are having 10 requirements, you may ask your stakeholders during workshop, okay, these are the 10 requirements. Select 2 requirements which are highly critical and for launching. And if they are forced to select only 2 requirements, they will use the criteria, they will use different ways that will help them to select those 2 requirements which are really critical for launching. So Pareto principle helps you to identify desirability. In some organization, there could be a rule that you will have 20% or you will have the 50% of requirements in must have related to this solution. Now this constraint, this rule forced stakeholders to think about those 50% requirements which should be in the solution, and for that they work collaboratively that on what basis those requirements will be selected from all the requirements. Time boxing, it is also important tool and it works well with the Moscow and Kano. You are having the fixed duration, you are having the description, understanding of your work, you are having understanding of team capacity, and within the fixed duration, what work you can deliver by knowing the capacity, by knowing the resource information and infrastructure information. Weighted ranking is also important tool to prioritize the requirements. We here you are having number of requirements, and you are working with the stakeholders to understand on what criteria they can prioritize the requirements. I'm taking the example here: risk, value, and cost. And what is the weight of these criteria? And you have to take consensus to understand the method of giving weight, and you also need to get consensus about the voting method. In weighted ranking method, the first 2 things are important: what will be the criteria and what is the voting method to prioritize those requirements. So you, after consensus, you get that risk is having 0.3 weight, value is having 0.5 weight, and cost is having 0.2 weight. And you have collected stakeholders to give vote to the requirements, and you see here that for this combination, requirement 1 and criteria risk, for this combination you got 2 votes. For this combination R1 and value you got 5 votes, and for this combination cost and R1 you got 3 votes. Now you are multiplying 0.3 by 2, it's 0.6, 0.5 multiplied by 5, it is 2.5, and 0.2 multiplied by 3, it is 0.6. Now you are adding these numbers and you will get the final score. And this is the ranking. And whichever the requirement is getting high score is high prioritized requirement. Multi-voting, it is another tool to prioritize requirements. Here you are having a whiteboard where requirements are presented in sticky notes, and you have given the votes to your stakeholders, and normally stakeholders have lesser votes than number of requirements, and as you know that requirement prioritization is not the simple thing. You may decide to give high number of votes to the highly influenced people, like sponsor. If you are providing 3 votes to all stakeholders, you may decide to give 5 votes to your sponsor. So the requirements which will get the high number of vote will get high prioritization. Summary. So first you need to know the requirement prioritization process, and for different type requirement types you will use different requirement prioritization process. Prioritization tools varies based on the type of requirement and life cycle, because when you are using upfront requirements, your requirements are predictable, you are having less risks, and when you are using adaptive life cycle, your requirements are changing frequently. So these requirement prioritization tools varies on the type of requirement and life cycle. Prioritization is an iterative process. Even when you are using predictive life cycle, requirement prioritization is an iterative process where you use different checkpoints and see if whatever assumptions you have taken where you were certain and you have done the upfront prioritization, if it is valid, if business benefits will be realized, and on those checkpoints which you select on the basis of the whatever you have captured in the project management plan, you prioritize in an iterative manner. And engaging stakeholders is very important. It gives you the long-term benefits. And if you're not engaging stakeholders, your requirement prioritization will not work. So this is about requirement prioritization, and it's time to take questions if you have. Okay, no question. Also, I have not seen any question posted in the forum to discuss in this clarification session. People who have joined first time, I would like to explain the forum. For every clarification session, we create a thread in PMI PBA exclusive webinars, and the questions which you would like to discuss interactively, you can post questions here, and as soon as I finish the presentation for the decided topic, in second segment I take the questions which are posted here. So today there is no question, and I have presented my presentation also, and still I'm not getting any question. Uh, it seems that either the concept was very easy or it was very hard. And we have reached the time box also. So I'm waiting for 1 minute. If you have any query related to any area of exam, you can ask. Okay, Jishan, would you like to discuss something? You raised hand.
Yes, hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes.
Good, good. In terms of exam, I had a question about wireframes and
Voice is breaking,
specifications.
Jishan.
Uh,
Voice is breaking. Can you type?
yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Farooq is asking what type of question can be asked in PMI PBA. You are asking for all for PMI PBA for our exam, or you are asking question related to requirement prioritization? All. So for that, we have assessment section in the campus, and exam is close to the real exam. Anything can be asked related to the content outline, and PMI expecting conceptual understanding, and if you can see the what is the best thing in the given scenario, you will be good. Means PMI is it is not that you are expected to memorize some tools and technique and you will score good. You need to know the things conceptually and what how you can apply your business analysis skills in different scenarios. And for that, assessment section will help you. Have you gone through the assessment section, Farooq? Okay. You are working on it. Jishan, I'm not getting your question. Are you providing?
I'm sorry, I'm on iPad. I don't find a way to write or type my
Okay,
address.
your voice has started to come clearly. Please ask what you want to discuss.
Uh, okay. See, a few of the terms has been very technical here,
Mm-hmm.
like wireframes and technical specifications. I want to know what is the significance of having these terms or these topics in exams. How often do you think we can expect these things in exams? Like wireframes, I've been actually in different business, not in IT myself, so I'm looking at these things in operation point of view. So wireframes and things like these have been actually very technical for me. I've not been into these things. So how much am I expecting these questions and exams relevant to these topics?
Okay. Wireframe is not a technical thing. It is a simple tool to engage stakeholders because sometimes stakeholders are unable to describe what they want. And when they can visualize things if something is visible to them. For that, you may engage them on the workshop and you may create some sketches on the whiteboard. And these sketches may represent the screen layout, and when you are preparing some layout, some rough sketches, and okay, this thing will be presented like this thing will work from here to here, and how what are your views. So the screen representation, whatever you are representing using some pen and pencil on paper or on whiteboard, this is a wireframe tool.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so these are
Great,
the tools to engage the stakeholders to get their requirements.
great, great, great.
Okay,
I'm satisfied.
yeah, thank you. And Farooq is saying, what is the success rate in PMI PBA exam? It is 100% success rate. Don't worry, you can. So you don't worry. I highly recommend to go through this area. You will see that how what the recent test takers are saying about the course. And believe me, the course is logically arranged. First, when you start the study, you will get the basic flow of business analysis practice guide. And as you move forward, you will get the specific tools and technique. So first you will get the idea about all the domains, and then the specific tools and technique, because business analysis tools and technique are not uh, explicitly related to any particular domain. You can use brainstorming in need assessment. You can use brainstorming in planning, in analysis, in monitoring, and in evaluation also. So, some tools are specific to the need assessment more. It is true, but what I'm trying to say, the course covers the core content and extended content both. Don't worry, start developing the study plan, and based on the your performance on certain checkpoints, you can revise your plan. And if you are if you need to develop study plan which is goal based, I can help you. uh, I have a question. Stefano asking, I have a question regarding a question found in planning quiz session. First of all, I would like to communicate or clarify here that we don't discuss questions directly in the clarification session, because uh, describing a particular question, discussing a particular questions can create confusion if it is not in forum already. We need to take others in loop. And here I'm reading the question and I will explain. It is like it will create a one-on-one session. We are here in group and we are working in distributed environment. So if you would like to discuss questions, please post them in forum first, and try to discuss over there, and yes, for the doubt clarification we can discuss questions in clarification session always. So in order to take everybody in loop, please post these questions in forum first. So this time I'm taking the question, right? I have a question regarding a question find and planning domain quiz. Question was, which one of the following might be the right time for BA to begin with model requirements? My reply was after requirements elicitation, but before solution assessment. But apparently that right answer would be at any point in project. Then I took an explanation which says model requirement is the requirement analysis, and requirements are analyzed after identifying stakeholder requirements. Stakeholder requirements identification is performed using elicitation and requirement. Okay, I cannot read that much, but I will because it is in the small window of question box, and if it is there I can everybody could see the question. Okay, I'm explaining what I know already. What is the meaning of modeling? It gives you a visual way of your requirements which are capabilities within your solution. Today we have discussed the requirement are of different types. Requirements could be business type, it could be the stakeholder, and further stakeholder requirements further elaborated in solution requirements. So at all levels, irrespective of at what level, if you are at the stage of defining business need, on the basis of approved business need, you develop business requirements, right? Now you have to engage your business stakeholders to know the what business requirements will help to meet the business need well. For example, your business needs to increase sale by 40%. There could be many ways to increase sale. Okay, so your output of that analysis of different ways, you select some business requirements to increase sale. So in that process, when you are analyzing the business requirements for your business need, you need to engage your stakeholders. Now, if you are engaging your stakeholders, you may plan to visualize some requirements, your business need. You may use the root cause analysis, where you have already used the fishbone diagram to understand the problem. Now, in the fishbone diagram, the different causes are related, and how these causes are related gives you an indication of how the requirement is flowing. So this is a visual tool which you can use, you can produce on the whiteboard, you can produce on the electronic tool, and you may discuss, okay, this is the root and result of root cause analysis. Here the different causes are related, and these are the causes which are highly impacted, and if we focus here, our business requirements will be these. So you are using a model, visual representation here. Your fishbone diagram is the model type of requirement modeling. So you may use modeling at any time when you are planning to visualize your requirements, you are planning to engage your stakeholders, and you have to engage your stakeholders at all levels, at business level, as a stakeholder level, and at solution level. Hope it is clear to you. Stephen, it is clear to you?
Okay, yes, I understand. My feeling was that in the explanation, during the explanation, emphasis was put on the fact that requirement solicitation is performed before analysis, of course, and so it sounded to me that the best moment would be during that phase, not in any moment. So I was a bit confused about the reply, but now your explanation is very clear.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay, I'm reading. I have pasted the explanation in my Word, so I'm reading it. I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, but model requirement is the requirement analysis, and requirements are analyzed after identifying stakeholders requirement. Okay, here the word of analyzed means analysis. Elicitation, then analysis. Stakeholder requirements
Yes.
are further elaborated in the solution requirement. For that you analyze. So that word analysis, analyze is not related to a general meaning of analysis. It is related to the analysis domain. And okay.
Yeah.
Stakeholder requirement means in the analysis domain we involve stakeholders for the stakeholder requirements, and for the agreed stakeholder requirements we analyze it further to get the solution requirements. The word analyze is related to that. Stakeholder requirements identification is performed using elicitation, and requirement elicitation precedes analysis. Okay, right, it is right. Whatever, I'm not able to relate it with the question because it is not here in front of me. So next time please.
The question is, yes, is that one. Which one of the following one might be the right time for the business analyst to begin with model requirements? That was the question.
Okay, one more thing I have to clear here, that no answer is right or no answer is wrong. You have to see the scenario, situation of the question along with the options. You have to analyze the options which is best in the given scenario. So no, I cannot explain with if I'm not having the question and options together.
Okay.
You have to see the question and options together, because
Okay.
this is the beauty of PMI exam. And based on the scenario, maybe there could be more than one correct answer. It could be possible, but what is the best answer? You have to select it.
Okay, but now I understand, after your explanation, I understand what's the meaning of providing as a best response at any time, at any point in the project. Okay, now it's clearer.
Thank you. Farooq is asking elicitation process steps. Okay. Uh, During last clarification session, I have discussed the elicitation process, and Farooq, it is a big topic, and it may eat the 1 hour clarification session, and I have done already. I request you to go through the study material. You will get the recording of elicitation, and briefly I'm describing here. Elicitation means you are elaborating business requirements and the stakeholder requirements, and for that you are involving stakeholders. Stakeholders in different areas. For your solution there could be different areas, and for each area you identify stakeholders and you collect requirements. Collect is the wrong word, because requirements are not lying there to collect. You have to work with the stakeholders, what they want. If requirements, what they are communicating are wishful thinking or their real desires, and on the basis of your stakeholder characteristics, you use different elicitation tools and techniques, and output of elicitation is elicitation results, where you get many requirements related to different stakeholders, and you, on the basis of the factors, you select requirements which will be part of your solution. All the requirements which you have generated during elicitation may not be part of your solution. So elicitation process means, and it is not a sequential process. When you are eliciting requirements, you need to elaborate them using analysis tools and technique, and while doing further elaboration for in the solution requirements, you may get some questions, and for that you may need to go to the stakeholders and your elicitation process start again. And but yes, at some point elicitation stops when your stakeholders are providing same information, when you are not getting the new information, and your requirements are specific and clear. So you need to know your stakeholders. You need to understand their characteristics on the basis of environment. On the basis of stakeholder characteristics, you use different elicitation tools and technique. And for effective use of elicitation process, you need to know in-depth elicitation tools and technique. And in your study material, in the business analysis tools and technique, in the Compass, you will get good videos, good number of videos for different elicitation tools and techniques. So you use the elicitation tools and technique, and you get elicitation results, and on the basis of what is really valued to you, and for that you can use the tools which we have discussed today, tools for prioritizing stakeholder requirements, and Moscow and Kano model and requirement filter and time boxing. Pareto analysis may help you because everybody wants the requirement in their solution, and you have to develop a clear understanding what is the meaning of must have, what is the meaning of should have, and what is the meaning of would have. And you have to work with the stakeholders, and you get the stakeholder requirements which are agreed and which will be part of solution. And if you have got the agreement that these requirements, these stakeholder requirements will be part of your solution, you further elaborate them in the analysis, where you use different models related to the analysis, like data model. You may create the data flow diagram, you may create the process flow diagram, you may create the activity diagram, whatever tools which suits to your environment, and you elaborate them, you develop the solution, and you deploy it. That is the brief process. And on the, whatever tools and technique and whatever to elicit the requirements and to know your stakeholders are applicable, please go through them and you will get the insight of elicitation process. Farooq, are you clear? Hey, are you there? Okay. So friends, we have reached the time box. Please tell me if is there any further question? Akanksha, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, Akanksha, I will review your application shortly, and I will get back to you. And just I want to communicate that it is not required to be panicked to map your uh, your hours in the task of business analysis domain. You have to get a understanding at the higher level. And yes, you have calculated right that 8 hours a day and 20 days in a month. It is good, and it is also easy to communicate your project description within 500 characters. I will see and I will
Yeah,
get back to you.
yeah, sure. Thanks.
So friends, thanks for participation, and I request you to post
Thank you.
questions here. And for the new members, I'm explaining the exclusive area of PMI PBA. Here we are having three important areas. Uh, Whenever you are preparing for the exam, you can use queries and tips if you would like to discuss some query. And important point to note that it is a good knowledge base. Forum is a good knowledge base. So create a new topic for each question. Please do not combine more than one question in a single thread. Means, for example, here I'm explaining what I'm trying to say. Here, you can see, I'm in quiz of need assessment chapter. I'm not so clear on the reason of answer 4 and 5. Now you are combining question number 4 and question number 5 in a one thread. So please create a separate thread here, new topic. You can create a need assessment question number 4 with a new thread, and question number 5 with a new thread. So it becomes a good medium to search. If you are stuck in somewhere, you can search and you will get answers. So it takes everybody in loop. So it helps us. It is good. It is better for us. And it is related to the Compass assessment questions or quizzes. For any discussion like Stefano asked related to the models, this is the area which is reserved for the Compass assessment questions or quizzes. And the third thing is the PMI PBA exclusive webinars. We create a thread in new thread for each clarification session, and the whatever you would like to discuss during the session, please post question, and for each question create a new thread, means post reply and then post reply for new question, another post reply, something like that. So it works in the distributed environment. So it is the brief introduction about the forum which can help you in while preparing the exam. So friends, thanks for participation, and I'm closing the webinar now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you. Welcome.